but so much to talk about with what we've seen in this game as we welcome in Frank Leboeuf and Gabriele Marcotti as well. We have to start where the game ended, Frank, and what we saw there. For you, what would your decision have been? Because it was given in the end as a foul in Szczesny's favour.
Well, that would have been for me a penalty, 100%. I mean, I think I agree with Xhaka in the fact that the striker doesn't touch the ball and the Brugge player doesn't touch the ball, and Szczesny tried to compensate his mistake and goes to the contact and touches the player's knee just to prove that there is a contact. But he how do you say? He gives the contact. And he pushes the referee to say, oh, there is a contact. But the contact comes from him. So therefore, for me, no penalty. 100% no penalty. It should have been a goal. And I'm sorry, that ref, we know him. He's bad, very bad. And today he has proven it.
Ali.
So no foul, I think is what Frank is trying to say. No foul. What I would say is that if I'm going to take the position of Szczesny, who seemed to be the only person in the stadium that felt it was a foul right away. He calmly was saying, it's a foul. Why are we concerned all about this? It's going to be a foul. Don't worry about it. Go take a look at it. It's a foul. I think what Szczesny would argue is that he has the right to be able to put his leg down when he's about to turn. And in the sliding challenge of Vertman does not allow that to happen and does make contact with Szczesny. Now, the sliding challenge doesn't make contact with the ball, seems to make somewhat of a contact with Szczesny, and I suppose that's where the foul is given. I can understand the position that Xhaka has taken. I can understand the position that Frank has taken. And if I had been Vertman doing the same thing, I probably would have been frustrated that that was given as a foul. I would suggest that if you don't give the right to the goalkeeper, in this case Szczesny, to be able to put his leg down so that then he can go and turn and find the ball, then I think if you didn't touch the ball and you made it a sliding challenge, you committed to the sliding challenge, I would say borderline, but just enough for a foul.
Check.
But did you like the explanation at least?
No, the explanation was great.
Hey.
The issue around that explanation is, a few moments earlier, we had a similar exchange between Balde and Forbes, where Balde gets a position, Forbes is trying to continue and running into the ball, and Forbes initiates the contact. And again, the referee gives a penalty, has a look at the monitor, overturns that. So if you see that as Forbes initiating the contact, and therefore that being no penalty, you overturn that penalty, then later on in the 93rd minute or whatever it is, I see it the same, that Szczesny is the one who initiated the contact. Vertman just slides in to make a block, and Szczesny initiates the contact. What Vertman does, he doesn't touch a man. Granted, he doesn't touch the ball. He's comfortably far enough away, but Szczesny comes down on top of him. So for me, it's the same situation, albeit reversed. If you overturn the penalty earlier, you have to give the goal later on.
The slightest of differences, Shaq, is that Vertman does commit to a challenge and does give an actual sliding motion towards Szczesny, whereas in the case of Alejandro Balde, he's just standing still and Forbes kicks him. That, I think, is where you can draw a difference. And your parallel, while it's an engaging argument, I don't think they're the same situation.
Let's see if Gabriele Marcotti wants to weigh in on what he thinks.
You know what? I was 100% certain that it was a penalty. But then I heard Ali's explanation, and he's so eloquent. I now want to hire him to represent me next time I'm in court. Because he's managed to plant a seed of doubt in my mind. That's why I would not make a good referee.
Okay. However, what we must talk about...
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well done, Ali. Well done, Ali. It was another shambolic defensive showing, Frank, from Barcelona.
Oh, yeah, it was. I mean, the 3 goals come from the high line, and we've been talking about that, for a year and a half now, and we said sometimes they're going to be punished. And this year, they have been punished a lot. But for Hansi Flick, it doesn't seem to be a problem, because he doesn't try to cope with the situation and maybe try to correct that situation, and he carries on, and he's being stubborn, and you cannot be punished that way every time, because people they start to know, as Ali said, you don't even need a perfect ball in the space. You just need to put the ball in the space, and the people at front have to go, and they're going to get the ball because nobody is there to cover, and they're going to be in front of Szczęsny in an easy way. That's not possible anymore. At that level, you have to have, again, as I always say, a second option. You can try that, but when it doesn't work, when you've been trapped once, you have to change your mind, you have to change your tactic. But the coach doesn't.
We were all watching it together in the green room. We were actually laughing at times, almost like watching through our hands like this at certain points with Barcelona, because at what point is it going to be too much that Flick continues to set his side up like this?
Well, to call this bad defending would be an insult to bad defending. I think it was after the Sevilla game where we mentioned that you could make a video just out of that match as to how not to defend. Well, over the last month to 6 weeks, actually, Barcelona now, you can put together a compilation package, the greatest hits of how not to defend. And Barcelona has touched upon all of them. To Frank's point, it's one thing that you're defending poorly, that you maybe do it one game, that you maybe do it 2 games, and maybe it goes for 3 weeks, but that you haven't addressed it and it continues to happen. It's an insult to other teams. You're basically telling other teams, you know what, we don't think you're good enough, without pressure, to find a pass that all it has to do is to be over the top of our defenders or splitting the defenders that are 15 to 10 yards from each other. If a professional player who's playing at the Champions League level cannot play that ball consistently, he would be out of his job very soon. That's how simple of a pass we're talking about. The first goal today, and Shaka mentioned it while we were doing the highlights, the run happens. And the player that has to complete this pass doesn't even have to split a line or split defenders. It's just a straight pass from here to there, and it's a 10-yard pass. That is a pass that you should be able to complete at 10 years old, consistently. If you are a high-level player, you should be able to complete that pass with your eyes closed. This is not even, I have to be creative in order to break this down. I don't have to be accurate with my pass in order to break this down. I just have to hit the ball into space 10 yards. I am confident, I am certain that everybody on this panel, everybody in the studio, and everybody who's with us, with Frank and Gab, can complete that pass. Everybody can complete
Even
that
Kane?
pass.
Yeah.
I said everybody in the studio. Hey, even my guy on the camera over there who's on his phone right now, he can complete that pass.
Abraman can, yeah.
There is no pressure on the ball. The space is right in front of you. All you have to do is just put that ball there, and it happens consistently and regularly.
If I can jump on that, 2 things that I'm thinking about while Ali was talking. The fact that I was a former defender, and I knew every time the guy in front of me who had the ball, the opponent had the ball, and was looking away to know where to give the ball, I knew that I had to stop and make a little drop to make sure that there is no ball in the space. That's an automatic answer to him watching and knowing what he can do. You have to protect yourself. What I see from Barcelona, even if the guy looks like that, they go further. They go further up. That's absolutely insane. That's a real suicide. Now, having said that, I'm a defender. I'm Frank Leboeuf, lucky to play for Barcelona under Hansi Flick. How do I behave? I think I end up on the bench because I'm going to go to Hansi Flick and say, I'm sorry, I'm not playing the fool. I'm not playing like that. I'm not being ridiculous. So I'm sorry. Find me another club or put me on the bench because I don't want to play like that, because that doesn't serve me. Because you said you're insulting bad defending. You're insulting the players. The 4 players playing at the back, they are insulted by Hansi Flick tactic.
Here's the thing for me, right? We've spoken about Hansi Flick's high line all of last season and certainly to start this one. And the sentiment has always been you have to have pressure on the ball. If you want to play that high line, you have to have pressure on the ball because an average professional player can make that pass without there being pressure on the ball. But what you saw today, with that line being 5 yards away from the man in possession, even with pressure on the ball, because now the pass doesn't have to be measured. It doesn't have to thread the eye of a needle. All it has to be is forward. And somebody like Forbes running on with his pace is going to have an absolute field day. And in fact, Forbes, with his pace, had an absolute field day.
Let me ask you, who? Yeah, exactly. Carlos Forbes looked like he was a world beater. Like this guy, it's the second coming of every great player we've ever had in the history of mankind.
But to play the point be, even with pressure on the ball, even if Barcelona consistently got pressure on the passer, if you hold out a line that's 5 yards away from wherever that ball is, you are going to get exposed time and time again. So to have this high line, to not have pressure, I really do not understand what it is Hansi Flick is getting at, what he's trying to get out of this team. They are going to get hurt time and time again.
Does it hurt your soul to see defending like this?
Baresi would have done that.
No, I'll say this, right? Those who are old enough, they remember Rigosaki's Milan. They played a crazy high line, but when they did that, sometimes, they didn't do it the whole game. When they did that, they had forwards, big, fast forwards, who would run themselves into the ground, putting pressure on the ball, as Shaka just said. Right now, this version of Barcelona has Marcus Rashford, who's not that, and Lamine Yamal, who's not fit. So, frankly, it becomes doubly difficult to do that. And the other minor difference is that Milan side had Baresi and Costa Curta and Filippo Galli and Maldini and Mauro Tassotti, whereas these guys, tonight, you had Araujo, who's a guy who, they've been trying to move and is clearly not suited at all to play this. Eric Garcia, who, is an afterthought. Cubarsí was on the bench. And to Frank's point about defenders standing up to the coach, none of these defenders are good. None of them have the authority, other than perhaps Cubarsí, but then that guy's still a teenager. So, who's Cubarsí to stand up to Flick and say, hey, boss, should we go and do this a little bit different? I think there's a leadership issue there, and it goes back to what they decided to do over the summer. Oh, that little tiny amount of money that we have to spend, should we go and spend it on Marcus Rashford, or should we go and spend it on finding a replacement for Inigo Martinez, who maybe wasn't super quick and maybe isn't the second coming, but I thought played very well for long stretches for Barcelona and could read the play and could be a defensive leader and mitigate some of that high line. No, they said, oh no, we're fine. Yeah, give me Christensen, he's always hurt. Give me Araujo, even though we don't like him. Give me Eric Garcia, even though he's a dud. And give me Cubarsí, even though he's 18. We'll be fine with these guys. That is the cardinal error. That goes beyond Flick. That's on Deco. That's on the club.
Inigo Martinez, in his absence, in going to Saudi Arabia, has now become a combination of all the players that Gab just mentioned from Milan.
Yes. He is.
Quite frankly, no player has elevated his status by not being somewhere as much as Inigo Martinez has been. A guy who wasn't even supposed to start last season, but now every time that something happens like this, which happens every single week with Barcelona, it goes back to, well, they're missing the leadership with Inigo Martinez. They may be missing that, but they're missing a whole lot more too. And that lack of pressure, and we've already gone around in circles, but the inability of this team to get numbers around the ball in order to affect the decision-making process of the player on the ball, if you're not getting close enough, that is where all alarm bells should go off, whether you're Franco Baresi, whether you're Pau Cubarsí, whether you're Costa Curta, whether you are Ronald Araujo. Somebody's got to take a step back. And they never do it.
Meanwhile, Lamine Yamal, obviously we saw, as Gab just mentioned, not fully fit at the moment. Milan trips aside. Thank goodness for Hansi Flick, he was on the pitch tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've said this before, but what a special player Lamine Yamal is. I mean, in terms of changing a game, in terms of dragging a team back into a game, and just how sometimes it's playground stuff. You see some of the things we saw in the highlights, some we couldn't cover it all with Lamine Yamal. But he just makes his game look so easy. And then to the point where you go away from home, you score 3 goals, and yet still you really should have lost. You really should have had, at least you get a point. That has to be frustrating on any attacking force, especially one where a teenager is carrying it the way that he is. That's a hard shift for a young man. But again, what a talent. Thank goodness for him, because I'm not sure that there's anything else in this Barcelona setup that you can really feel good about.
We're beginning to see with more consistency the tendency of Lamine Yamal to not just stay on the right-hand side, on the wing, just right next to the sideline. He's actually taking more central positions. And we saw from playmaking positions his ability to find through balls. We saw the ball for Ferran Torres that should have been a goal. And we saw the combination that ends up in his goal is him starting in a more central position, taking more of an inside position where he can now combine with Fermin Lopez, goes on to score the goal. That tells me this is a player that is beginning to mature and to understand that, yeah, I can dominate out here, but I can also impact the game over there. The more he does that, his game becomes far more diverse. And in becoming more diverse, he becomes more dangerous. In becoming more dangerous, more difficult to stop.
A special player, Gab?
Yeah, no question. Special player, joy to watch. You just hope, the kind of groin injury that he's dealing with, you just hope, as a neutral, as somebody who loves seeing ridiculously talented players play, you just hope that he's getting the medical treatment and the sports science that's needed to make sure that we see him at his best later in the season and, of course, at the World Cup.
Yeah, we've got more La Liga action coming up this weekend as Barcelona will be back, and we'll see if their defensive showings will be back as they take on Celta at Balaidos on Sunday. All of these games available every single week on ESPN+. Yes, and so 4-1 it would finish. Frank Leboeuf still with us to talk more about what we saw in this one. Gab's still with us too. It's not all about Haaland then. Gab, we got to see Phil Foden today getting 2 goals. Is he back?
You know what? If he's back, then we have a real title race on our hands, because we all remember how good Phil Foden was 2 years ago. I was hugely impressed, not just by this game, but sort of his run of matches. That Foden-Reinders partnership, if that's what he wants to continue with, against Liverpool this weekend and whatnot, that is so well-rounded in terms of drive, in terms of running into the box. You saw Reinders serving up both assists there, in terms of finding each other. Foden's creativity, Foden's genius, the way he strikes the ball. That's exciting. And you know what? Nothing against the tall Norwegian guy, but it's nice to talk about Manchester City and not just make it all about him. Although, all that said, it looks like a very gaudy scoreline. At 3-0 up, they get the goal back after Doku falls asleep. And then Dortmund had a couple chances, Donnarumma having to come out way outside the box. It looked to me like it got a tiny bit potentially nervy before obviously Ryan Cherky put it away. But yeah, Foden, that's really exciting. You got Foden coming back. You got potentially Rodri. He was supposed to be on the bench tonight. He wasn't, but they're going to take his return slowly. City could be a real force, I think, in a month or two.
Frankie, I've seen some head nods and some head shakes at what Gab was saying there. What were you thinking?
No. I agree. Totally agree on what Gab said about Foden and the fact that Haaland wasn't the only one. But you have to add Doku and Savinho as well, where they absolutely put a mess on the side, and it maybe opened up a little bit in the middle of the park where Foden could be freer than he is. And we can see on the first goal, if we talked about the high line of Barcelona, we have to talk about the drop line of the back line of Dortmund, where they were like 10 yards away from Foden, where the time to turn and put his beautiful left foot on the first goal. And the second goal was absolutely beautiful, but because he had to be fast. And I want to think that Foden is back to his best. But because of the tactic that Guardiola was able to put, where you don't play tiki-taka, you don't turn around, You have player on the side, Doku, Savinho able to turn on, take on players and go a little bit faster than the other ones, and that's, I think, for me, makes the difference on what we used to see, and that's that boring tiki-taka that we used to see with Manchester City.
Do you agree with what Gab said, that if Foden is back here, then City are a problem?
I think City will be a problem anyway. I think we've all said at various points during the last week or two at least that this is Arsenal's title to lose, right? They are easily the best team in the league, certainly at the moment. Now, the big question comes around Manchester City, which version of City will show up for the remainder of this season. And we've seen in the good version of Manchester City of 2 or 3 years ago, the kinds of runs that they can put together in the second half of a season. Now, if City can all of a sudden rediscover that form and kind of run the table as they've done just about, it puts a lot of pressure on Arsenal, certainly in the second half of the season. Ali alluded to it yesterday. Now, in any title-winning season, every single club goes through a spell where they just aren't playing well, things aren't going great, and it's how you manage those periods, it's how you manage those 5 or 6 games. And the old cliche, you've got to win ugly and all that kind of comes in. Now, how Arsenal manages that 5 or 6 games will determine whether they win this title or not. Again, if this is the City of 2 or 3 years ago, you aren't allowed much more than 5 or 6 games. Not in this form, even with this kind of head start. So they can be a problem, but that problem, or how much of a problem, is ultimately Arsenal's to decide.
We must talk about that poor Norwegian guy that Gab mentioned as well. I think it was put to him after the game about another record, and he was like, which one? Because there are that many for him now. He's not even sure which record he's talking about anymore.
Well, it must be nice. First of all, Shaq, I appreciate that you're supporting the show when you're not on it and you're actually watching us. That's great.
Laughing at Stevie's references to cigarettes and sausages.
You mean Dr. Nichols? Look, as it pertains to Erling Haaland, when that ball was being crossed from the left-hand side from Doku, and he goes through the defenders and Foden, and it's now you see the big strapping young man setting up with his left foot. You're like, well, there's only one outcome here, and it's him about to score a goal with the sort of power that he did. He, not now, but has been for a while, a certainty in front of goal. And that's a certainty for us that are watching it as a striker, and I don't speak with a whole lot of knowledge on this subject, but at one point or another, when you're scoring a bunch of goals, you feel like everything that you touch is going to go into the back of the net. And what a place that has to be for Erling Haaland. That he now knows clearly and fully when he steps on the field, if he's given a chance, if he's played a ball through, if somebody's crossing the ball, more than likely, he's going to score. That, I tell you, it is where you want to live, where you want to dream if you are a striker. And Erling Haaland is right there every single day. What a great place to be if you're Erling Haaland, and what a moment in your career if you're Erling Haaland. And if you're him, all you want to do is keep playing, baby. Let's keep playing. Let's keep scoring goals. Let's keep putting balls in front of me because I'm going to score.
Yeah, meanwhile, Borussia Dortmund going, look at what we once had. They will be back in action in the Bundesliga this weekend. Make sure to catch them against Hamburg on Saturday away from home. We will have all of these games available on ESPN+. That there were changes to the 11 from Enzo Maresca tonight. Frank had his eye on this game. Is it defensive errors, Frank, costing the side today, costing Chelsea?
Not only. I feel some sympathy about the young Heito and the fact that he made 2 big mistakes, allowed Qarabag to score goals. But that wasn't only that, you know. First, yeah, it's nice to rotate. It's nice to give some rest to some players, but you have to make sure that you can be able to win, you know, in Azerbaijan. And it's what Chelsea weren't able to do today. They played well for the first 10-15 minutes, and I say, okay, that's great. You know, it's going to be an easy game. They scored a goal, good goal from Estevao. And after that I didn't see the difference between an Azerbaijan team and Chelsea Football Club. I feel frustrated. And when the second half, they changed some player. It was a little bit better, but still Qarabag has some chances. So let's say that the player weren't convinced that it was a important game to play. A draw was enough for them maybe to get through in that Champions League campaign. But I wasn't convinced by anything today.
Is a draw a fair result? Is it the right result for you, Gab? Or did Chelsea actually get away with a draw in the end, considering how Qarabag played tonight?
I think arguably they got away with it. And I think that's what's going to disappoint Enzo Maresca. Because, you know, when I take on board what Frank said, it felt like, you know, they felt, well, we don't really need to worry about this. It's only Qarabag or whatever. Well, leaving aside that Qarabag are doing more than okay in the Champions League. For me, it was a lot of those individual players who I think just had poor nights. So it's not just Hato, it's Tosin at the back. And when you think, you know, those center back positions right now at Chelsea, they don't really have an established partnership. So those roles are pretty much up for grabs. And it's in games like this where you can seize the opportunity, especially if like Hato, who of course he's also the backup left back, but he hasn't played that much. Tosin, you know, show Maresca that, you know, you should be first choice until Colo comes back. Up front, same thing, Tyreek George, who I think has done well, but some players don't cope well when, you know, they only play once in a while and sometimes he's wide, sometimes he's up front. That's the frustrating thing, and that's the flip side, I think, of managing a big squad. Especially of younger players. You'll have games like this when the people who come in don't seize the opportunity. Maybe some of the regulars, maybe, I don't want to say take the night off, but maybe aren't as intense as they usually are. And then you pay a price for it. And then you got to rely on St. Moises Caicedo to come and bail you out for the umpteenth time.
Would you like to say anything about this game, guys?
No.
What are you're not
No,
going
I
to
was
stick up for
wondering-
Qarabag, your
Power
most
rankings
favorite
first.
team?
Power ranking featured.
I was focusing
Qarabag.
I was solely focusing on another game that we get to in a bit.
That's fair enough. He was watching.
Who's that? Because at the same time, it was Papo Villarreal.
He was. Wait till you hear him on the highlight.
Yes.
You're
gonna bring it.
Big Papo's fan.
Yeah, all right. I thought it was Qarabag.
Frank, would you like to add anything else about Chelsea today?
Oh, me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, me?
Yes.
No. Well, now again, I want to think about Hato, and I know how dramatic and traumatic it could be to have a kind of game like that, and I really hope that guy is gonna step up, and his teammates will cheer him up to make sure that he can carry on and have a great career. It's never good to start like that way, and people have seen that. So you want to find some recomfort, I would say, from everybody. He has mine because he can make mistakes and he has to carry on. But that was an off night. That wasn't a good night. That wasn't a good game away from home against the so-called best club in the world, but really I was very disappointed by the team today.
Yeah, time to bounce back. Stamford Bridge this weekend against Wolves. Thanks so much, guys. Make sure to be with us tomorrow.
I didn't think that it was that big, and I said to he was like screaming, Ashraf, stay on the floor, get out, and he would get a red card. It's what happened, but I was told that his ankle is in a bad state, and he was really suffering, and that was a deserving red card. That was only fair. That was bad from him because he was the best player on the field. For the first half, I mean, that was amazing what Luis Diaz was capable of doing, but that was a very bad, I would say, forward tackle, because those guys don't know how to tackle. Ask Ali Moreno.
Yeah, 6 weeks, Hakimi. We wish him well in his recovery. That's what's been reported at the moment. Were you a little bit more generous with your decision towards Luis Diaz, Shaq?
Tell me if this sounds familiar. That was 100% a red card. I never from the time I saw the replay, you realize the referee had no choice. That, for me, was never in any kind of doubt.
Ah, well, turns out for me, There was some doubt.
Oh, yeah. 99%?
Yes, 99%. First of all, bad challenge from Luis Diaz. Bad challenge. Unnecessary challenge from Luis Diaz. The only thing that I would say is that it ends up being as bad a challenge as it became in terms of the outcome from Hakimi, because Hakimi is trying to get himself between the ball and Luis Diaz, and he actually takes his foot onto the path of Luis Diaz, and then Luis Diaz is actually turning his ankle basically with his sensitive parts, with his crutch. You cannot tell me that Luis Diaz, when he lunges for the ball, he's trying to get his sensitive area in a compromised position.
I'm
just saying.
I'm not going to offer that as an
Do you
explanation.
remember when Ale convinced Gab earlier in the show?
No, but I would say this, that it was orange, right? I'm okay with the yellow card. I didn't think it was a red card. Potentially, once you go and see it and you see the ankle bending in the way in which it did, yeah, I suppose you go with it. I didn't think it was a red card to begin with, and I still don't think it is.
By Gab's face, I don't think he wants.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go back there.
Anymore.
I think we can tell. All right, Frankie, next up to you. Luis Enrique.
You see, I kept talking so that Gab didn't have a retort. That is part of what lawyers do. Thank you, Your Honor.
We're at the game, Frank. Luis Enrique coaching from the stands in the first half of this game. Do you like it or not?
Yes, I like it. He has been doing that for a while now. I've seen him in many games in Liga, and I understand that. I think it's nice to see the game, and you have a better view, I think, from the stand from the touchline. So I think it should be done for many coaches, because sometimes you don't really understand what's going right or wrong, and so being a little bit above the field, it gives you a better look and a better statement from your players. So I think it's a good idea. And again, he's been doing that like for the past 5 or 6 games. And well, it didn't work yesterday because they were awful. He should have been on the touchline to say, "Guy, you're doing stupid things right now for 45 minutes. You have to react." But yeah, it's becoming a habit for him.
Shaka, you like innovative methods and new technology?
Not innovative.
You like what Luis Enrique's doing here?
Redknapp used to do this.
A little bit of Sam Allardyce?
Nobody ever accused Harry Redknapp of being an innovator. I am sure of that. You've seen a ton of managers do this. I think it's totally fine. I totally understand it.
Right.
But like Frank said, it didn't work.
Well,
it wasn't working. And his team, up until the red card, were getting housed by Bayern Munich. Just saying.
All right, in at number 3 on the quick picks today. Quick hit, sorry, Gab. Artistic license. Trent Alexander-Arnold returning to Anfield, coming on in the 81st minute and getting booed. Harsh or understandable, Gab?
I think it's understandable because that's a narrative that was laid out. I think those same people, when we've seen this before. In fact, I can think of one Steve McManaman, who many years ago left the club on a free to go to Real Madrid. I think what fans want is they want respect, they want honesty, and I think the reason I find it a little bit harsh in his case is that I don't think he ever swore everlasting loyalty to Liverpool. I don't think he ever said, this isn't Sol Campbell going from Spurs to Arsenal. It's nothing like that. He spent a big chunk of his entire career from when he was a boy at Liverpool. He won the Champions League. He won the title again after X many years, and eventually he left to go join a club of comparable standing to Liverpool, if not greater, albeit in a different league. So I think people should respect that there's a person in there. But no, I'm certainly not surprised.
Frank, harsh or understandable for you?
Absolutely harsh. I think it's unfair. Sometimes I can even think it's stupid because really, again, as Gab said, he served the club. He served it very well. He's starting from scratch to winning the Champions League with Liverpool, winning the Premier League. It doesn't belong to Liverpool. He has a free will, and again, he served well. So thank him. Wish him good luck, and if he comes back, stand up and give him a big clap because he served well. And I don't get it. I really don't get it. I'm so disappointed because I thought Liverpool fans were supposedly the best fans in the world. They showed yesterday that they weren't.
All right, anything to say on it, Shaq?
Harsh but expected, given the narrative that Liverpool fans were trumpeting all of the second half of last season.
Just the same way I say that players should be able to celebrate when they score against their own team or their old teams, well, then fans also have the right to boo their old players. So what I would have loved to have seen is Trent Alexander score and actually give it one of
Kiss the badge. Kiss the real.
That was a hell of a skill, hell of a goal. I love it. We know we've talked about Messi, we talked about Maradona doing that. Now we have Van der Ven. We have our defender, Van der Ven, doing that.
So that's your problem, Ale. You weren't a defender.
I never run that far in the season.
I would have ran out of gas.
Add it up.
You two on a relay.
Come on, Lex. Come on, Lex.
Nice stuff. Okay, we're going to go to the last of them. We had to put that one to Frank, obviously, that goal from Mickey van der Ven. Cristiano Ronaldo saying that the World Cup shouldn't define his legacy. He says it's unfair to be determined by whether you've won the World Cup. Is that fair or not, Gab?
It's 100% fair. And if you're a Ronaldo hater, you'll say like, well, don't worry, Cristiano. It won't define your legacy because you didn't win it. The reality, though, is that to win a World Cup, there's so many things beyond your control. And I think his legacy goes beyond that. He's been tremendously successful with his country, if international football is your bag. He played a huge role, albeit getting injured in the final, in helping Portugal win the Euros. To me, that's about as impressive, just about, as leading Portugal to World Cup. No, it shouldn't define his legacy at all. I know it's the yin to his yang, and we all put it out. Oh, look, Messi, now he's won the World Cup. Is he the GOAT? Blah, blah, blah. And so do we apply the same standard to Cristiano? You know what? To win a World Cup, part of it is also, hey, it helps if you happen to be Brazilian or Argentine or German. All these things contribute to whether you're likely to win a World Cup. So, no, this in no way impacts Cristiano's legacy.
I was going to come to Ale, but
he might win 2026.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So he hasn't won it yet. Frank, I heard that there were some facial expressions being pulled during Gab's explanation.
No, because I'm. Yeah, it can define your legacy because it's important to win a World Cup. And as Gab said, when you belong to a country, we can win it. And yesterday I was the Portuguese coach, and we talked, and I say, well, I think you are one of the contender, and you can win, and it would be nice for Cristiano to win the World Cup. And if you do so with Portugal, because he has the team for that, he has the elements, and all individuals, if they carry on like that, they are, for me, simply contenders with Spain, France, and Argentina. But they can do that. But it's important to win a World Cup. But I think about players like George Weah, who was one of the best strikers in the world, but playing for Liberia, or Liberia, I don't know how you say that, but and I always say that it's sad to see a player like him not being able to win a World Cup because he belongs to a country which doesn't have enough talents to do so. But Portugal can do so, so he can win, and because he belongs to a big country, yet he can define his legacy. It's random because it's hard to do so, but he can define his legacy.
Did Frank win a World Cup?
Well, yes.
He did.
And there's
It's important, right?
there is a legacy there.
With Liberia?
I don't say a word.
Should it define his legacy?
It should not define his legacy, but Cristiano Ronaldo could never and will never be separated from Lionel Messi because of the things that both of them did at a crazy level for over a decade. And if that's a conversation, which it always seems to come down to Ronaldo, Messi, Messi, Ronaldo, Ronaldo, Messi, Messi, Ronaldo. One won the World Cup, one didn't. It shouldn't define the legacy, but if that's a comparison, then Messi has one up on Ronaldo.
All right. Gab, did you like our quick hits?
I'm sorry?
Did we do okay on the quick hits that we stole from the Gab and Jules show?
You did fine, but sorry to say, Jules would agree there's nothing like the original.
Yeah.
And if you do want to catch the original, you can catch it on the Gab and Jules podcast twice a week. And you can catch these guys answering your questions every single day over on our YouTube channel on Extra Time. All right, we have got to tell you a little bit of news about Luis Suarez, who has been fined and suspended by the MLS Disciplinary Committee for violent conduct. This in the 71st minute of Inter Miami's match versus Nashville on Saturday. Off the ball incident, kicking Nashville defender Andy Najar in the 71st minute.
Yeah.
That's
More than just the 71st minute.
First of all, that's Andy Najar.
Sorry, Andy Najar. My bad, Ale.
No, Derek would not be proud of you.
He would not.
Today. The donkey kick, the old donkey kick from Luis Suarez. And of course, if you had to pick one player in Major League Soccer, I'll give you one option as to who would do this in this sort of matchup, in this sort of game, in this sort of moment where now you are not able to play in Game 3. Who would it be? Yes, Luis Suarez, and nobody's surprised. And to some degree, there's a little bit of justice here too, because after the spitting incident that he had in the Leagues Cup final, after that incident where he was sort of given a get out of jail free card, now we continue to see that if you don't punish him, and even when you do, but if you don't punish him and he's allowed to do whatever he wants to, here comes the donkey kick, and now he's out of Game 3. And this puts Miami in a position in which maybe, could it be that Inter Miami doesn't make it past this round? And if that's the case, what a disaster that would be for Major League Soccer.
Yeah, well, we were going to let Shaka in on this, but of course we don't need to let him in on this. Because he's going to have plenty more time to tell you exactly what he thinks on Football Americas tomorrow. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Frank is joining us to answer your questions, as too is Gab Marcotti. We've got Ale and Shaka here in the studio. First question is for Shaka. Shaka, not even a question, a statement, a demand. Shaka, defend Chesney.
I can't. Well, Ali can. Ali can. I thought it was a penalty.
And did.
Ali did a very good job. Ali did a very good job. He actually got hired as Gab's lawyer and then quickly fired.
For a very short period of
Hired
time.
and then quickly fired.
Did he do a really good job, though, Chesney, of just staying so calm that
Yes,
it
he
didn't
did.
make as much of it?
Yes, he did. He's like, no problem. That was a foul. Chesney did a good job of it. Not sure how or why the referee fell for it, but that's another conversation.
Okay, next question. Gab, start, bench or drop these for Italian cities for the food. Palermo, Bologna and Naples.
Maybe.
Ooh. All right. So since part of my family's from the Emilia region, I should be leaning towards Bologna, but I have to go with Bologna first. Second place, I might go Naples. I've just spent more time there than in Palermo, and I guess I would drop Palermo, and I hope all the Sicilians out there don't get annoyed with me. But guys, it's a lot of competition there with Bologna and Napoli. Although none of them can hold a candle to the small Greek city of Paf.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Wonderful destination.
He loves getting countries wrong, don't worry.
The people are excited in PAF because of the result.
Exactly. They'll be eating well tonight in Paf.
They're in a playoff position right now.
Oh, man,
That's
Shaka.
right. That's right.
And to continue the conversation about the best Italian cities for food, none of them actually hold a candle to Stevie Nicks' back ball.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Those two words are not allowed to be said in my household. I'm sure in Gab's household that is disallowed.
I'm just saying.
Spag ball. All right, Shaka, how does Barcelona's high defensive line impact a goalkeeper's approach? When the team starts conceding, how does it change the way you play and react? A lot of heat today, Shaq. There's going to be a lot of questions coming your way.
To be fair, I don't think it changes anything about Szczesny. He's just that guy in terms of he's kind of been there, seen it, done it, and he's not going to change. The challenge comes when there's a younger goalkeeper playing with that ridiculously high line. What's your starting position without getting lobbed if there's no pressure on the ball? That's the difficulty. I do not understand for the life of me, and we had Hansi Flick's post-game press conference at the end of the show there. I am more confused than when I was watching him play now.
And nobody, you know what? Nobody's asking Hansi Flick or Barcelona to go into a low block. So he got a little defensive there. Finally, defensive. Finally, Barcelona got defensive about something. He's like, so we can be a team that is in the low block, or we can play our style and our philosophy. Nobody's asking Barcelona to go into a low block and absorb pressure. It's logically thinking through the game, reading the game, and adjusting to whatever the reality of the game is at the moment. And in specific moments in which there is no pressure on the ball, the first reaction of the defender should be to take a step back. The first reaction of the Barcelona defenders is to take a step forward, and that puts him in all sorts of problems.
What confused me is when he said last season, our first goal, he'd have been 2 yards offside. They were a yard into their own half. Where's the Hansi Flick getting 2 yards offside from?
I'm with you, Shaka. I didn't get. They're already half line. So how can he be offside if he's on his own line?
I'm like, what?
I mean, that was insane. And after what he said when he talked about his DNA, that they didn't want to change their own DNA. What kind of DNA is that? A year and a half ago, Barcelona never played like that. So he's not part of the Barcelona DNA, Doesn't mean anything. Really, that guy lives in another world.
Nice stuff. Shaka again. Have you ever pulled off a save like Courtois? The one where he stretched out those giant legs to block the shot?
I've pulled off many a save in my day, Kay. I'll have you know.
Well, not against everybody, Shaq.
No. I can't.
And Liverpool.
Not against everybody, Shaq.
Ali scored at me.
Yes! Yes!
That's what he's getting.
Yes!
Ali scored
I
at me.
thought he was
100%.
Something.
Tell us more about when you scored on Shaka, Ali.
No. That's the low point of my career.
Well,
how far away from you was he?
Huh?
No, I was beyond him with a change of pace that it was so characteristic of my game.
Hansi Flick is talking about that same 2 yards.
Dip of the shoulder. There's a dip of the shoulder, and then this way. And Saka was thrown on the ground.
I should have just left.
Yes, I know. I thought about leaving.
Emigrated to PAF. I should have just moved to PAF.
Retire.
I should have
Retiring.
Retired to PAF. Call it a day. Good God.
So many a save like that, but just not on Moreno.
No.
Okay. Gab, what's the most iconic memory you have in the San Siro?
Ooh. This was not a game I was at, but it's a game I watched on television, and it was a great Milan side of the late 80s, and they beat Foggia 8-2. Back when Serie A was dull and defensive and all this stuff. It was just a game where just they pulled everything off, and Foggia very attacking, very open. Why they scored 2 goals. They were true to their DNA, as Hansi Flick might say.
I was at the game and at the Parc des Princes, and Andrei Shevchenko was there, a true legend of Milan, of Chelsea, and now the president of the Ukraine Federation. And I remember playing in Champions League against. Oh yeah, well done. Thank you very much. Oh, you know, and I remember playing against Andre, and I have the picture because I really have in the photo. I don't remember where it is, but where I pull his shirt because he was too fast, and I pull his shirt for like 10 yards, even in our 18-yard box, and it should have been a penalty, and the ref never gave that. And we talked about that yesterday, and he say, I remember that. I say, that's impossible that the referee didn't give a penalty. I say, you know, I can't even more agree with you. That was insane. But remember that time, and for me, playing at San Siro against Andrei Shevchenko, Franco Baresi, and so many others, of course Maldini, that was a big honor, because you know that you are somewhere in a place where football has been so big, so successful, that you want to be, you are absolutely happy to be there. Even if you lose, well, luckily we drew against with Denis White scoring a goal, but really, that was a big honor to play in Milan.
Gab's laughing. What are you laughing at, Gab?
I don't know, because when he started describing the game, I remember it very well, because as you know, I live a couple miles from Stamford Bridge, and to this day, Chelsea fans keep singing about that goal that Dennis Wise scored at the San Siro with 10 minutes to go. So yeah, it's seared into everybody's brain.
Frank, what was your choice of red there? We see you've got a nice glass of red wine in the picture.
That was a beautiful Bordeaux or Pauillac, and that was absolutely fine. We enjoyed it.
Yes, I'm sure you did.
You think, I was thinking about this in the show when Frank mentioned he referred to as the Portugal coach. Do you think Frank just forgot Portugal coach's name?
No, Martinez. No, Mr. Martinez. No, don't worry.
His lawyer
He calls
said,
him Bobby.
his
Like
lawyer
that.
said,
No,
don't go calling
we
names.
worked before knowing you, Mr. Ali Moreno. I worked with Mr. Martinez and Mr. Company in the 2016 European Championship. They were ESPN pundits.
This is how important I am in your life, Mr. Frank Leboeuf. I've been in ESPN since 2013, and I was actually working that same. Obviously, you did not care about me at all.
So you should have remembered Mr. Company and Mr. Martinez working with me.
I know.
So it's how important I am in your life.
Don't gaslight me. Don't deflect now. Don't deflect now.
Oh, you know I love you, Ali.
Yeah, I know.
I love you.
Passionately, I know.
Okay, Frank, I've got a question for you here, and the other guys can wade in. How much of how PSG and Chelsea have been playing is down to injuries, and how much of the injuries down to the so-called Club World Cup? That's how they've written it here in this question.
Well, I think it had an effect, and for sure. And we talked about that for any team who'd been involved in the Club World Cup, that they're going to struggle in October, November, and it's happening right now. And but you know, PSG had 5 players missing against Barcelona, and they won 2-1 away from home. So yes, you can talk about injuries, that the fact that it affects your performance, but it's not the only excuse. Yesterday, Paris Saint-Germain didn't play well because Bayern Munich were absolutely fantastic first, and because PSG didn't put the whole ingredient. Yes, it's sad when you lose Dembele. It's not nice when Doué doesn't play. Marquinhos is not at his best, but you know, it's part of the game. And they have proven, I'm talking about PSG, that they're capable of doing better even with 5 players injured. For Chelsea, it's a little bit more trickier. I think they cannot allow to have too much rotation because some players are very, very important. And today, that was too much. That was too much. We didn't see enough first team or first 11 players being on the field, and it has a bad effect.
Okay. We must give you an update. A couple of us have been to see Dan this week. He's doing very well. He's walking about as fast as Jan Fjørtoft in the fish race.
Yeah. The fish would definitely beat Dan right now.
Yes, but he's doing well because we know so many of you are asking, and he's keeping up to date with the show, and he's hoping to be back soon. All right, sending lots of love to Dan, and thank you to all of you for sending in your questions today. Look at this. There we go, Frank.
Penalty.
Oh, yes.
That's a penalty.
100% a penalty.
Nothing. Come on, we did not have the VAR. So
Play
nothing.
Love it.
Oh, that's nice.
All right. That is all we've got time for on the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll do it all over again.